Okay, so as I mentioned, here the advantage of AJAX is the ability, okay, to build interactive pages without having to load the page. Okay, so for example here, we can make an interactive search. Okay, we can also show the price of product without having to reload the page. We can also show the book list without having to reload the page. So how this is done? Okay, let's go into the code. Okay, so this is the way how it works. You have a browser, and this is what you have observed now. And when an event occurs, in the background, there is a request that is sent to the server. And this request is sent by an object that we call XML HTTP request. Okay, XML HTTP request object. It hasn't to do with XML. In the beginning, it started with XML, but now it supports different formats, JSON or text for the response. Okay, and then this request is sent to the server. The server will make any kind of processing, for example, querying a database, or making, for example, any kind of processing needed by the application. It will create a response and then send back the response to the browser. The browser will process the return data using JavaScript and then will update the page content. Okay, so like in this example, when I click on A or any character, an XML HTTP request message is going to be sent to the server. It's going to check whether this word exists into the database and then send back a response and then update. This is now the update in the web page. Okay, this is a paragraph here that is updated by its ID whenever a response is received by the server. Okay, so this is basically what happens. Okay. Major exam. Okay, so let's do this one. I'm going to open index.html. Look now, without, okay, without AJAX, nothing is happening. Now we are going to do AJAX part in order to make this work. Okay, and of course here we have a normal form, and here I'm going to show you the HTML that we have. What is the HTML? Search, yeah. So this is our form here. Very simple form. We have the label search name, which is this one, and then we have text input, ID equal keyword. Okay, and then we have this part here, info. Okay, so info here, where do we find it? Search result. Okay, so here we have search result. Let me write nothing, just to see it here. So here we have the search result. So what we have to do now, we have to send the request to the server and then display the search result over here. Okay, so we're going to do it step by step. So now the first thing that we need to do is to make an event here. Let me just see kind of event which I have. Okay, yes, I got it. Okay, so first, the idea is that we create an event, and whenever this event happens, okay, we're going to send the letter that is typed by the user to the server. So the first thing we need to understand is this object, the HTML, XML, HTTP request object. Okay, in order to send, so now we have two steps. The first one is sending, and the second one is receiving and processing. Okay, so first of all, we have to construct an object. So usually we can call it XML HTTP, or you can give it any name. But here we have to make sure of how to create the object. In like 99% of the cases, you have to use a new XML HTTP request. So this is the constructor of the class, and we create the object. But some of the browsers, like old Internet Explorer browsers, they have another way of the declaration. If you want to ensure backward compatibility of all the browsers, you have to use ActiveX object. Microsoft, this is now the notation for creating an XML HTTP object for all the browsers with Internet Explorer. Even now the new browsers for Internet Explorer, they use this one. So let's say most of the cases we can just type this one, and here I'm going to show you. Now basically you have this function that you are going to use like all the time. It creates different type of objects. Okay, so here it creates a var XML HTTP, and then if window.ActiveX object, it means if it is an older browser, is going to create it as this one. Otherwise, it creates using XML HTTP request, and finally it's going to put false in. If it is not false, it's going to return the value. Okay, so here usually you can create a global variable in AJAX called XML HTTP, and then you assign the result of this function. So this function is standard. You can use it, and basically in 90% of cases you can just use the following one. It can be reduced to the following. Okay, it's a big function, but basically we need, yes, this is just to make sure that you ensure backward compatibility of all the browsers. So this is the first thing that you need to do, is to create this object. This object now will allow us to send and to receive requests. So what you can do with this object, so many things. Okay, you know now this new XML HTTP request, it allows you to create a new object. You can abort a current request that is being sent. You can open a request, so this opens a connection with the server, and send will allow you to send a request.
دكتور سؤال اسمه
Yes.
انا بس انت ضغطت اول شيء حرف A ده يبعث للسيرفر عن طريق كده.
We will come to this. Let me first explain the concept, and we will do the application okay, from zero until the end. But we need to understand how to do it. So now the first thing is we have this object now. So we're going to use the method send and the method open. So open here is going to open a connection for the request. So you have to specify how are you going to send the request, and the request in HTTP can be sent either using get or post methods. So it's the same thing here, because what are we going to send? You will send a request to a PHP server, and PHP server will just be like yes, use get or post to receive the request. Then you have to specify the location of the file, and in this case you specify the server file location that is going to process the action. Okay, and you specify whether you want to have it asynchronous or synchronous, and true for asynchronous, false for true for asynchronous, and false for synchronous. And basically here we have to make it asynchronous because AJAX is the acronym for asynchronous JavaScript. Synchronous JavaScript
هل يتساوي
XML.
يتساوي الناس بيكون ما له فائده مو لانه هو ما بده يعمل ريلود
Yes. So by default it's true. Okay. Basically we need to provide. This is an optional parameter, and by default it's true. These are also two optional parameters if you need to specify username and password for the server. All these three elements are optional.
So URL action.
So, sorry?
URL.
Yeah, it's the action, yes. It's the action. Okay, and here send, it allows you to send the request to the server. Okay, so let's now start by sending. Okay, so the idea here now, we're going to create a request. I'm going to come back later on to the response structure. Okay, so if I want to create a request now, I will go. So I'm going to create a method. This is for the response. So yes, I need to have all of this only. Okay, I need to create a function. I'm going to call it process search. Okay, and this function now is going to send our request. So first of all, I need to take this object that I have created. Okay, I'm going to send using get request. I need to specify now where to send. So here I have already a database .php file that contains an array of words, and I'm going to check the values against this the values present in this array. Of course, you can have a real database where you have to send the select query and then process it, but just to introduce this example in a simple way, I just use this database array. Okay, but the principle is the same. Okay, so now the name will be here database.php, and I will put true here. But of course now database.php, what does it expect? It expects to have the keyword. So how to send the keyword now?
You do something like XTTP open, right?
Okay, in the URL. Okay, I can do keyword. Okay, equal, and then I will add the keyword that is in the JavaScript. Okay, so plus. So keyword here, I'm going to create a variable keyword equal what? Document dot get element by ID, and here okay. Get element dot ID dot inner dot HTML. Inner dot HTML, right. So what is this? Yeah, this is not a text file. Yeah, this is not a text. We can check here.
Isn't it not valid?
Yeah. No, it's not echo here. It's so here, yes. If you want to debug, it's not like a PHP. We have to use console.log or alert. You have two different ways. Okay, I'm going to show you the difference here. You can make alert keyword just to make sure that we collect the right the right value. Okay, but now this is for post. I don't need it. Okay, and then I will have to send XML HTTP dot send. This is going to send the request. واضح? Okay. So if I execute here, so this part is about sending the request. Okay. Sending the request to the server. But let's make sure first that we already execute this method. Process server. Yeah. Now if I execute here, it doesn't show even the alert. So I need to make an event. I need to make an event. You can do on change here. I think there is an event on change. So what do you need to do? Process search. Process search. And here I have to include AJAX.js. Okay, it's already included. Let me see if we have any error. Process search is not defined. Okay, now in order to debug with JavaScript, you have to use console, JavaScript console here. Okay, here it says onload process. Okay. We don't have process for the moment. Okay. And the second error, process search is not defined. Why it is not defined? Yeah. It's defined, no? AJAX.js.
Has a semicolon.
Mm-hmm. Where?
When you call it,
The unchanged.
Shouldn't? Now, at least, okay, I'm sure that it is executing. Okay, so if I press A, but on change, it's only when, yes, when you click, for example, a tab or you leave the field. Okay, so here, if I leave the field, it's going to make on change. But this is not what I want. I want whenever I type. Okay. Okay, I will come to it. I will come to it. But let's now, at least we did one step. Okay. So here I'm. At least I know that I execute this one. Okay. So here, before sending the request, we have to make sure that the server is not busy and ready to communicate. So there are several states we have to look at. Okay, so here you have ready state, which has several possible values. Okay, and here when you want to send a request, you have to make sure that the server is not busy and it's ready to communicate. So this means that we can send when the ready state is either 0 or 4. But if it is 1, 2, or 3, in this case, it means it is still it is still processing a current request. Okay, so we should not send the request when another one is already sent or not finalized. Okay, so for this case, what we should add? We should add an if condition. So usually before any request you do, you have to check that ready state or XML http.ready state is equal to 0 or is equal to 4. Okay, so this means if the server is not busy and is ready to communicate. Okay, and here I'm going to put parentheses here like this. Voila. So this is now our request. Yes.
Why do you put the equality check on 0?
This means request not initialized. So yes, I can send it. So the server is not busy. Okay. Okay, so one more step now. This is an asynchronous request. So I want to continue my work. I want to continue my work while the server is processing the information. And when I get the information, I would like to process it. So I need to tell, I need to tell here what is the function that will be responsible for processing the response coming from the server. Okay? And for this, we're going to specify this one by the event on ready state change. Defines a function to be called when ready state property changes. Okay? So when the state change, okay, I'm going to execute a function. I will call it, okay, so process, or this one I'm going to call it send search request. I think this is better. And the second function I'm going to call it process search response. And I will add callback. So usually these functions we call them callback. Why callback? Because they are going to be automatically executed whenever a response comes back from the server, or here in this case whenever a state will change. Okay, so this is now the name of the function. Of course I need to change this into my code here. I will do. No, we don't need. It's like this. Yeah. Okay, and here we have to send, we put null. There is nothing to send. Okay. So now what we can do here for the send search request, we wanted to make an event, but the event is not, was not fine. The event that is on change here. Okay, I will come back to that after making the process. So process search response callback now. First of all, we need to check the state. Okay, so when are we going to process the information? Okay, when the ready state is going to be equal to 4. Okay. No, here it's still processing. Okay, so here we're going to do if XML ready state is equal to 4. Okay, so this means what? Okay, this means This means the server request finished and the response is ready to be processed. Okay, and then we have to check also the status of the response, because you may send, for example, to a page that does not exist, okay, or you may send some kind of wrong information. So here in the response we have to check two things. Ready state must be equal to far, and also the status. Okay, you know the HTTP status 200, it means okay. 404, for example, you send to a page that does not exist, and 403. These are a sample of HTTP codes for the different page status. So for us, what is important, if the request is successful, we should have a status of 200. So here I'm going to write if XML HTTP dot status equal 200, and here I'm going to process the response. Okay, so response is successful. Let's write something here. Document dot get element by ID. And what was here the no, we are going to display here in search result. Okay, in search result dot inner HTML is equal to what? Okay, I'm going to write success, just to make sure that things are working fine. Okay, so we want to do it step by step. Okay, success. So I have something that works, but of course I would like now to know the real result. So the request was sent to the server, and now I need to understand what was the response sent back to the server to me. And this will depend on how PHP was sending the response. So now we were going to look at the PHP side, at the server, which is this one. Okay? So all of this doesn't matter. What matters is what is here at the end. Okay, so what matters is what is in the echo. Everything in echo is going to be sent back as a response. Okay, you can build a string. Okay, for example, here I will make echo the user exists. Okay, and let me disable all of this. Okay, all of these echoes, I'm going to disable them. Anything wrong?
Yes, PHP. I comment PHP.
Okay. What I will do, just a moment. Now this is working. Okay. I would like just to send something very simple. Okay, echo the user exists, whatever it is. Okay, I'm going to remove all of this temporary. So this is a very simple one. Okay, that is a text. We can do here, instead of this, the response from the server, and here the response, how to get it. Okay, so in this very simple example, we have response. This is no, the callback is here. Response text, yes, this one. Get the response as a string. Yes, I can do an alert here. I will put xml.http response text, and also here let me put this one. Okay. So now at least we can display the response coming from the server. But later on we will see how we can send more elaborated response from the server using PHP. Okay, so I will put something else again. Okay, parse error. In line 6 we have an error. We don't have anything here. Ah, boring one. Okay, we got, okay, I'm going to redo it again. Okay, the user exists. So this is the response that we get from the server. How to get it? This is a very simple example. When you have just a simple text, you can get it using response.text. So we get it as a string. So this is the first way on how to get a response. I can send a JSON format, okay, as a text, and then there are a lot of JSON methods that allows you to parse automatically and convert into an array. Okay, this is one of the common ways. We're going to do it. But another way also is to send an XML file and process it using JavaScript. So this is the second way, and this is what we have here. Look now at the structure of the response. First of all, we get the keyword, okay, and then we're going to formulate the response message. Okay, so the response here, we're going to specify the content type using the header. So you know that header, it allows to make redirection, and also it allows to put the header information. Okay, like for example, content type. You know about the structure of HTTP? Okay. So the HTTP format. Okay, so when you send an HTTP request, there are several header informations that you can add. For example, the method, the date, the type of the status of the connection, the host, and different type of information. So one of the information that you can have here is the content type. Okay. Did you make networking, right? Not yet. So usually, okay. In networks, usually when you send a packet, you have header and you have payload. Payload is the data that you want to send. And the header, it's an information about the packet, depending on the protocol. For example, in the IP, you have IP address, source destination address, source address, and destination address. This is one of the possible parameters in the header. In HTTP, that is in the application layer on the top, okay, when you send, we're going to send, in HTTP, we're going to send the HTML file itself, but the header information contains some data, like one of them is the content type. What is the type of the content that I'm going to carry inside this fragment? Okay, so here we're going to say to the receiving application that the content is going to be text HTML or text XML or JSON, or for example a file or an image or whatever. So here, in my example, I'm going to send an XML file. Okay, so that's why the content type here that I will specify will be XML, so that the browser, when it receives the information, it knows that it's going to consider it as an XML. Okay, so all of this is for XML. This is the header of an XML file. And then I'm going to write the XML itself, response. Okay, I'm going to take the keyword, look for the keyword inside the array. If the array contains the keyword, we use the inArray method defined in PHP. In this case, I'm going to formulate a message that contains keyword that is the name of the user is registered into our database. And this is what you see here, by the way. Okay. So if I type here a name that exists. Okay, let's say take another name, Munir. Okay. So every time it's sending a response, we're parsing the response and then displaying the response of the server. So this is the response that you get here when it is registered in the database, or it is found in the array. If it is not found, it's going to send the following message. واضح? Okay. And finally, we close the response tag. So what we are going to send here is something like response. So this is what we are going to receive. Message. Something like Anis is registered into our database. Okay. And then we have code 100. This is the code that I put it myself. Okay.
It's the same as 200 and 404.
No. It's something, I can just remove the code. It's something that I put it myself. Okay. And here I close the response. So now this is what is going to be sent, okay, received by the browser in the response. So now I need to do what? I need to parse this XML in order to extract this information from it. واضح? Okay, or I can also extract the code. I can do any kind of information. I can, if I want to add something more, it's possible. I can add here any tag.
So these tags are
Yeah, my tags. Okay, it's you formulate the response in the way you want. واضح? Okay, and I just have this code written, but of course we can modify it as we want. Yes.
How do I change the color of the response? There hasn't been successful.
We will see it in the JavaScript. Okay, so now in this case, I send my response into XML. I can send it in JSON. I can send it in pure text. Depends on how you want to do it. Okay, so in this example, we're going to see how we process XML here. Okay, look now, going back to AJAX. So if I put just response text like this, I'm going to, what is going to happen? Okay, it's sending me the response. Okay, you can see in the alert, it's sending me the response, the entire message. But I don't want to have this. Okay, and here it's showing me because I made alert, so it removes all the tag and print all the text that is code plus the text. But for me, I want just to extract the piece of information that is the message itself. Okay, I don't want to have the code. Okay, first of all, let's solve this problem. We made onChange, and you can see onChange is not very effective. So, no, one of the things that we can do this on load. Okay, instead of onChange, on load. No, it's not on click. On load, I think it should be working fine. No. I think last time I did it here into the body. Okay. I can do it in the body. Is it on load or load here? On load, yes. On load show product. Yeah. I was not. Yeah. Let me try it here. But I need to remove this alert because no, I don't need it. Yes.
There's another alert.
No. Seems onload doesn't work on this one. So I'm going to change it to the body here. Okay, yes. Because on load is going to make it only once. So now we need to have a timer.
Auto refresh.
Okay, yes. We need to have a timer in order to execute, because it's going to, when it loads, it's going to execute this once, and then it's not going to redo it again. So in order to do a timer, we're going to do here. So once it is executed, we're going to set time out, the name of the function itself, so it's going to call itself, and then the frequency here in millisecond.
You can try the event on key press.
On key press, there's nothing. Okay, here,
No, in the form.
yeah, on. But I'm going to show you the other one as well, like this. Why it's showing this alert?
There is another.
It is delayed.
Here, line.
Where?
Down.
Keyword.
Okay. Yes, that one works. Or also the second, the option, the other option is to make on load, and here is to refresh. So you can use set time out to refresh, self-calling the method every 200 times. Okay. But let's keep this one. Looks better. Okay, so now we're going to process the information coming as an XML. Okay, so here the process is like processing the node name of the DOM, because the DOM is like an XML. We have HTML, we have body, we have head, and so on. So the principle is actually the same. So first of all, we're going to take the XML doc that we receive from the response dot XML or response. So here it's response XML. X. So this is going to give us the whole XML response, and then we need to process the elements. Okay. So this is now the response that we have, that we are going to parse. Is this one. Okay. So we want to get the child element of the response here. Okay, so here what we can do,
It's not better to extract the code if it is the same code, so it is not registered. It's not better just to extract the code, and if it's not, so
no, we're going to process them. So first of all, I'm going to create a variable, okay, to take this tag element, okay, var response element. So how to get this one? Okay, dot get element element by tag name. Okay, what is the tag name here? Is the response. Okay, and then message here is the child 0, right?
Yes.